We are discussing the portrayal of women in reality TV, and I, of course, want to hear from you on Facebook and Twitter. Join the conversation at #OurTakeAriseTV, and remember to leave your comments on our Facebook page, Our Take on Arise TV. Tell me what you think. Well, it is time now for what I like to call reality check. And one of my next guests says it cannot happen fast enough. Sil Lai Abrams is the founder of Truth in Reality and has written extensively about the image of Black women in media, particularly reality TV. Thank you so much for joining us today. Also with us is Geralyn Ferguson, joining the conversation via Skype from Atlanta. She was on the television show, TV1 was the name of the network. The name of the show was called Love and Addiction. Thank you, Geralyn, for joining us as well. Sil Lai, I actually want to start with you because, like I said, you've written quite a bit about this. What is the issue that you have when it comes to specifically the portrayal of Black women on reality TV?
The main issue that I have is the fact that there's no parity. That when you think about when it comes to the portrayal of Black women on television, cable television, there's only one stereotype, and that's the crazy Black reality show chick. And not only does it perpetuate really negative stereotypes to the viewers, but also it contributes to a shift in our cultural attitudes towards interpersonal violence, which is by and large one of it's what a friend of mine called the secret sauce that is introduced to make sure that the show is a hit.
Yeah. Geralyn and Kelly, you were both in non-scripted shows, reality television shows. Kelly, I know your show was a competition show. Geralyn, let me ask you first, and Kelly, please follow up. Can you talk to me a little bit about just the casting process? Did you ever get the feeling that you were supposed to fulfill a role that kind of played into preconceived notions and stereotypes about Black women in the first place?
Not at all. During the casting process, I was told that the show was about my ex and I's relationship and us being a power couple or working toward being a power couple in Atlanta.
And you feel generally that you walked away from your experience with a positive, is that correct?
Yes, I had a positive experience throughout the whole process, especially when I left the show.
And Kelly, you kind of echo a similar story.
For me, yes, but I'm fortunate in that I come from a television background. My father's a producer. I'm in PR, so I get to see the entire landscape. And Sil Lai raises some great points. I did a competition, and so it wasn't a drama, right? And so there wasn't the need for that element. But where we do see African American women in reality dramas, she's absolutely correct. We typically are the crazy, psychotic, angry, overly aggressive,
neck swirling,
absolutely,
finger snapping,
glass throwing,
pulling.
all of that. That. We don't often see women, more like you and like me who, sure, we get upset, but we're also happy sometimes. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, and so I think you're absolutely right. It is the parody. I don't think that reality television as the genre is the devil, but if Black women had the privilege and the benefit of diversity in reality television, I think it could be a lot more palatable for us.
And the big offenders here.
Yes.
Are we talking about Nene from The Real Housewives? Are we talking about, I'm saying names. Are we talking about Sheree? But the reality is, though, Sil Lai, whether we're talking about Basketball Wives, Love and Hip Hop, Real Housewives of Atlanta, they have viewers. So the big offenders, are they the networks, are they the production houses, or it's us who choose to tune in?
It's all three. I mean, it's a system that works together. The networks have found a very inexpensive way to create content that is getting a lot of viewership. Then the production companies, even if they wanted to create more balanced, even if they wanted to create, help me out here.
Balanced depictions of
Black,
us.
right, of us on different types of shows. They're not necessarily going to get greenlit, especially when you're talking about scripted shows, right? So, and then finally with the audience, I mean, I, for the life of me, don't, I just wish that people, particularly Black women, would understand how their viewing choices
Yes.
are actually contributing to what we're being given on TV programming.
So you take it another step. You say that it is not just about clearly entertainment and what we're watching. You're saying that what we see on television does translate into real life. That when we see these abusive interpersonal relationships, that manifests in our real lives.
I mean, the bottom line is it does. I mean, there have been a lot of studies, and I know you've looked into this because Kelly's been very active in this arena as well. But research has shown that there is a direct link between what we view on television or in various forms of media, what we consume, and then what we put out. And it's just mind-boggling how people will say, "Oh no, it doesn't have any impact. It's not even real. It's scripted. We know that it's fake." But I'm like, okay, so you hold on that thought. So then why do advertisers spend $4 million during the Super Bowl for a 30-second spot? Because they want to influence our behavior.
Galen, if you were given the opportunity to do another reality television show, would you do it again?
I would definitely do it again. I love the experience, and I feel like it's on the person that's in front of the camera. You have the power of yourself, how you want to be portrayed. You can take it to a negative level, or you can have a positive level. Yes, you can blame it on the producers and the people that create the content, but at the end of the day, it's your mouth that's moving. It's your physical reactions to the situation. So I feel that it's the person in front of the camera that has most of the power.
I do want to jump in on that, though, because I think it's very much dependent on the type of show that you're doing. Galen, I actually saw your show, and I enjoyed your episode. But it depends on the genre. I mean, if you're in a drama, there is tremendous power in the editing suite, absolutely. And there are shows where the producers are, it didn't happen in my show, obviously it didn't happen in Galen's show, but there are shows where the producers do coach. And as you're filming, the producers are taking incredible notes, and those notes get passed on to the editors. And so sometimes we've seen and we know that things are shot in one sequence and then they're aired in another. And there's a lot of magic and a lot of power in the editing room. So while I think that was true for Galen's experience, for people who are at home and may be considering doing a reality show, I do want to be very clear and transparent about the fact that you do put your image out there and you put it in the hands of the creative directors. And so if you do not in your contract have a stipulation where you have creative control or production control over the final show, which most of us do not, you really are turning your image over into the hands of someone who can recreate you.
But even to go even further with what you're sharing, there's an economic incentive for women to act a fool on these shows, because if you are on a Love and Hip Hop or Basketball Wives, or even Real Housewives of Atlanta, if you're going to be calm and mellow and easy and pleasant and get along with folks, you're gone.
That's right. No. And we saw that in the early seasons of Real Housewives of Atlanta. One of the ladies who, for lack of a better phrase, wasn't controversial enough, didn't get greenlit to
Deshaun Snow.
Deshaun. That's right. I have to admit, I was guilty of it. I did watch that show quite a bit in the early days.
Yeah, as did I.
But I also made eventually, because I was actually glued to almost all of the Housewives
franchise,
series. I did eventually make the decision that I wasn't going to support it anymore because I didn't like the way we women in general were being portrayed. I didn't like the fact that we were being portrayed as being, one to be quick to be involved in a cat fight. I wanted to be I just didn't want to support that kind of programming. But and Soleil, and we've had this conversation, for a lot of the women, quite frankly, that are in some of these shows, their financial independence has come because of their appearance on these shows. Do you think that financial independence is a good enough good to outweigh the bad images that are being portrayed?
I mean, you have to define independence. I mean, how much money is worth your soul or worth your, your reputation? The reality is that very few of the cast members actually make any money and develop a brand separate from these shows. So you sign away your life basically for $1,500 an episode. If it gets picked up, great. If you have a proper management and this and that and all the stars line up with a perfect storm, then maybe you can be like a Nene Leakes. But she is a phenomenon. She is one of probably, I would guesstimate, 100 women of color who've been on the shows, and outside of her, I mean, I really don't think that there's anyone else that you could really point to say, she has been able to transcend, exactly, transcend the stereotypical image and actually make a living as a, quote, legitimate personality.
Right.
And it doesn't look like any of these shows really are going to be going away anytime soon because, one, they do have such a huge following. I do want to thank you all, ladies, for joining in the conversation. Sil Lai Abrams, as well as Geralyn Ferguson, joining us via Skype. Thank you so much for your input as well. And you are watching Our Take.